I always thought I knew my family. We weren't perfect, who is? But we were close. My dad, a high school science teacher, was quiet but kind. My mom worked from home as a freelance writer, and I was their only child, or so I believed for most of my life. It all started with a letter. I was back home from college for winter break. One afternoon, while helping my mom sort through old boxes in the attic, I stumbled across a small, beat-up shoebox filled with postcards and envelopes tied together with twine. I thought it might be part of my dad's old science club stuff. He used to run a summer camp years ago. But the envelopes were different. Personal. They were addressed to a Lucia, not my mom, and were sent from places like Austin, Texas, and Santa Fe, New Mexico. I opened one. It was written in my father's handwriting. "I'll be back the second weekend of May. I miss you and the kids so much already. Don't let Marcus give you a hard time about homework." Just like his old man, that one. Dad. My heart stopped. The kids? Back? Marcus? I quickly shoved the box into my bag and told my mom I had to run to the store. I don't know why I didn't tell her. Maybe I didn't want to believe what I had just read. Maybe I wanted to protect her. Or maybe I wasn't ready to confront the idea that my father wasn't who I thought he was. The box haunted me. I kept it hidden in the bottom drawer of my old dresser, beneath some sweatshirts and old school notebooks. I told myself I'd forget about it, that maybe it was some misunderstanding or old life my dad had left behind long ago. But I couldn't shake the feeling. Every time I saw him that week, laughing with my mom over dinner, helping her trim the Christmas tree, I kept hearing that sentence in the letter. "I miss you and the kids so much already." So, a few nights later, while my parents were asleep, I went through the rest of the letters. There were over 30. The earliest was from 2007. I would have been around 10 years old. The most recent was dated just 6 months ago. And they weren't just letters. Some were photographs. A woman with soft, tired eyes and dark curls, smiling beside a teenage boy and a girl who looked a few years younger than me. In one of them, my father had his arm around all three of them, standing in front of what looked like a modest house with desert hills in the background. He looked happy, at ease. My stomach churned. That boy, Marcus, had his same eyes, the same slight dimple in his left cheek. I decided I couldn't sit on it anymore. I needed answers. The next day, while Dad was out running errands, I opened his office drawer and found the spare keys to his locked file cabinet. I felt like a criminal as I slid it open, my hands trembling, heart hammering. Inside were neatly organized folders, tax documents, bills, insurance records. But in the very back was something that caught my eye. A second phone. It was a flip phone. Old, but functional. And it had messages. Dozens of them. One from just a week ago. "Can't wait to see you again. Kids are asking about you. Be safe. Love you. Lucia." I stared at that message until the words blurred. My dad had a second family. A whole other life. And he was still actively in it. I didn't know what to do. Confront him? Tell my mom? I felt like I was standing on a frozen lake, and the cracks were starting to spread beneath my feet. That night, I lay awake in my room, trying to process everything. Around midnight, I heard the front door open and close softly. I peeked through the curtains and watched my dad drive off into the night. I didn't sleep. The next morning, I checked the car's GPS history. He had driven to a bus station on the outskirts of town. I started to build a timeline, comparing letter dates, saved text messages, credit card receipts I found in his drawers. Every pattern pointed to one thing. He had been visiting them regularly, about once every 2 months, for at least the last 15 years. and my mom had no idea. Or did she? I couldn't keep pretending everything was normal. The weight of that secret pressed down on me like a storm cloud. Every time I looked at my dad, I saw a stranger wearing his face. Determined to get to the bottom of this, I started asking subtle questions, careful not to raise suspicions. "Dad, what was that city you mentioned the other day?" I asked one evening, watching his face flicker with something, an almost imperceptible hesitation. He gave me a vague answer. "Just some business stuff. Nothing important." I wasn't buying it. I decided to visit the bus station myself. I waited near the ticket counter and asked around, trying to find if anyone recognized my dad. A few passengers mentioned a regular traveler, someone who took a weekly bus to a nearby city called San Miguel. San Miguel? The same city name I'd seen scribbled on one of the letters. That weekend, I took the bus there. San Miguel was nothing like my quiet hometown. It buzzed with life, markets crowded with vendors, music spilling from every corner, the scent of fried street food in the air. I wandered through the narrow streets until I found the modest house from the photo, the one with the desert hills behind it. I stood outside, heart pounding. I wasn't sure what I was expecting, an apology? A confrontation? But mostly, I wanted to understand. Before I could knock, the door swung open. A woman, probably in her late 40s, with the same dark curls and tired eyes from the photo, looked at me with a guarded expression. "You're his daughter, aren't you?" she said, her voice soft but firm. "Yes," I whispered. "I'm Emily." She nodded slowly. "I've been waiting for you." We sat down inside, and she began to tell her story, one filled with pain, loneliness, and years of waiting. She spoke of love and betrayal, of promises broken and children raised without the man who should have been there. But then came the shock. Lucia, as she was called, told me my dad wasn't just leading a double life. He was in deep trouble. The money he sent them barely covered debts and legal threats from people he crossed in the past. "He's scared," Lucia said. "And he's not the man you think he is." I felt the ground shift beneath me. This wasn't just a secret family. This was a web of lies, danger, and betrayal far darker than I imagined. On my way back, I saw my phone light up. A message from an unknown number. "Be careful what you dig up. Some truths are better buried." The message on my phone felt like a punch to the gut. Whoever had sent it knew about my search, and they wanted me to stop. But how could I? I was already so deep into this twisted story that walking away wasn't an option anymore. That night, I tried calling Dad, but he didn't answer. The next day, he showed up at the house late, his eyes bloodshot, like he hadn't slept. There was something different about him, a coldness I'd never seen before. "I know what you're doing," he said without looking at me. "Stop digging into things that don't concern you." I tried to argue, but he shut me down. His voice was sharp, almost dangerous. Later, when he went out, I searched his study. That's where I found it. A hidden drawer full of documents, photographs, and letters. Among them was a passport with multiple names, credit cards under fake identities, and threatening letters from unknown people. I realized my dad was running from something far worse than I thought. And now, by trying to find the truth, I had dragged myself into a dangerous game. Days passed, and strange things started happening. My car was keyed in the parking lot, my phone battery drained overnight, and shadowy figures seemed to linger outside the house. I reached out to Lucia again, and she warned me not to trust anyone, not even the people closest to me. "You need to be careful," she said. "There are forces at play that don't want this secret exposed." Despite the fear, I felt a fire inside me growing stronger, the need to uncover the truth, no matter the cost. But then came the biggest shock of all. One evening, I overheard a conversation through the thin walls of the house. Dad was on the phone, whispering urgently, "They're on to us. I have to disappear soon. Don't trust Emily. She's a liability." My heart shattered. The man I thought was my father wasn't just a liar. He was running from a dangerous past, and he had already decided I was expendable. After overhearing that call, I knew things had gone from bad to worse. Dad's words echoed in my mind all day. Don't trust Emily. She's a liability. What was I to him? Just a threat to be eliminated? I couldn't just sit and wait. I needed answers and protection. So, I called Lucia, begging her to meet me somewhere safe. We met at a quiet cafe miles from home. She looked more serious than ever. "Emily, you're in deeper trouble than you realize," she said. "Your father's not just hiding a second family. He's involved in something illegal, something dangerous." She pulled out a folder filled with photos and documents she had gathered over the months. There were pictures of Dad with unfamiliar men, exchanging briefcases, meeting late at night. Some documents mentioned offshore accounts, money laundering, and even threats against people who tried to expose him. I stared at it, my hands trembling. "How did you find all this?" I asked. "I've been watching him for months," Lucia said. "I didn't tell you because I was afraid. But now, we have to be smart." She proposed a plan. First, gather irrefutable proof to show to the authorities. Second, protect ourselves from whoever was behind Dad's shady past. Over the next week, we secretly collected evidence, recordings, photos, copies of documents. Every step was nerve-wracking. We never knew if someone was watching. One night, while sneaking into Dad's office to grab more files, I caught a glimpse of his computer screen. Emails with coded language, mentions of the shipment, deadlines, and cleaning up loose ends. I wanted to scream. The man I grew up calling Dad was living a double life more twisted than any soap opera. But the worst was yet to come. During a surprise visit to Dad's second family house in the neighboring city, Lucia and I hid behind bushes and watched as Dad embraced a woman and a little girl, my sister and niece. I realized with horror. They were completely unaware of his criminal ties, innocent in this mess. I wanted to confront him, to yell, but Lucia held me back. "We need everything on tape," she whispered. Then, as Dad walked back to his car, a shadow appeared behind him. A man in a dark hoodie, eyes cold, approached and handed him an envelope. Dad's hand shook as he took it. That moment, I understood. We weren't just dealing with lies. This was a web of danger, betrayal, and secrets that could cost lives. And somehow, I was at the center of it all. Days passed like a slow, agonizing storm. Every morning, I woke with a pit in my stomach, unsure of what new nightmare awaited. Lucia and I had compiled a dossier thick enough to sink a ship, yet the closer we got to the truth, the more dangerous things became. One evening, as I returned home, I noticed the door ajar. My heart raced. Inside, the place was a mess, drawers pulled out, papers scattered. Someone had been searching for something. Or someone. I called Lucia immediately. She told me to leave the house and meet her at a safe location. On the way, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being followed. Twice, I caught glimpses of a black sedan tailing me on the highway. At the rendezvous, Lucia showed me footage she'd managed to capture from a nearby surveillance camera. It was Dad meeting with two men, exchanging what looked like cash. One of the men had a scar across his cheek, looking like trouble personified. "That's not all," Lucia whispered, voice trembling. "Your father has been siphoning money from both families, and those men are his partners in crime. They're ruthless." The weight of betrayal crushed me. Not only was Dad living a double life, but he was manipulating everyone for money, including me. In the following days, I began piecing together what he was planning. A massive money laundering scheme using offshore accounts and front businesses, far bigger than I ever imagined. I confronted him one night when he returned late. He looked tired, eyes dark. I asked him, voice cracking, "Why? Why all this lies and stealing from us?" He laughed, a cold, bitter sound. "You think you know me? You know nothing." Before I could react, he slammed the door and disappeared into the night. After that, I felt the walls closing in. Strange calls, shadows lurking outside, and a creeping paranoia that no one was safe. One night, Lucia found a note slipped under her door. "Stop digging, or you'll disappear like the others." We both knew this was a warning. But I couldn't stop. The truth had become my obsession. The deeper I dug, the more I realized I was playing with fire. Fire that could consume me, my sister, even innocent lives caught in Dad's twisted game. And then came the worst discovery of all. The night I uncovered the last piece of the puzzle is etched in my memory forever. Lucia and I had followed Dad to a secluded warehouse on the outskirts of town. We hid behind crates, phones ready, hearts pounding. Inside, Dad was speaking with a woman, someone I'd never seen before. As they talked, I noticed a folder on the table, stamped with the name of a missing persons agency. Suddenly, the woman handed Dad a photo. My breath caught. It was a picture of a little girl, around 8 years old, her face eerily familiar. "Who is she?" I whispered, but Lucia only shook her head, eyes wide. Dad's voice was cold, almost emotionless. "She's my daughter too. From the other woman. The one I promised to protect." I realized then that Dad's other family wasn't just a secret life. It was a dark web of lies involving more than money. That little girl had been missing for months, and Dad had kept it hidden, using his power to manipulate the search. My phone slipped from my hands. The truth shattered me. Dad wasn't just a liar and a thief. He was dangerous, capable of destroying lives to cover his tracks. We called the police, but before they arrived, Dad vanished again. The investigation revealed the extent of his crimes: fraud, kidnapping, emotional abuse, and betrayal on a scale I could never have imagined. In the end, Dad was arrested, but the damage was irreversible. Our family was broken beyond repair, trust shattered into a million pieces. Lucia and I were left to pick up the pieces, haunted by the man we thought we knew, and the dark secrets that nearly destroyed us all. Sometimes, the people closest to us hide the darkest truths, and finding them can cost everything. So guys, let me know your opinion in the comments. And if you want your own stories,